Dr. S Jaishankar is meeting with Kash Patel, we are told, and also the Secretary of State Marco Rubio. That's the latest that we are, in fact, given to understand. Kash Patel, who's Trump's FBI director pick, and also meeting the Secretary of State Marco Rubio. An important meeting there. We're also putting in pictures of that meeting and that little tete-a-tete that the Minister of External Affairs really had with both these leaders in the United States of America, and that becomes very, very significant. We all know how Kash Patel has been a really ardent supporter of the Ram Mandir issue. He is anti-deep state, and that was why he was an important pick in the Trump administration. Siddhant continues to be with us. Siddhant, important meet there with the External Affairs Minister.
Well, absolutely, Griha. Very interesting pictures from the Capitol Hill. These pictures are from the inaugural festivities at the Capitol Hill. And two of these pictures are very, very significant. One, Foreign Minister Jaishankar meeting Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He is also expected to meet Marco Rubio again today when they will meet for the first Quad Foreign Ministers meeting, in which Trump's Secretary of State will represent America. So that meeting is expected to take place today. And Mr. Jaishankar has also posted a photograph with the new FBI Director Kash Patel. Now, both of these individuals are China hawk, perhaps believes in strengthening ties with India, Griha. And also, Griha, would like to remind our viewers that yesterday, if let's also talk about Mr. Jaishankar's sitting during Trump's oath-taking ceremony. You know, the other foreign ministers, Foreign Minister of Japan and Australia, were made to sit on the second and the third rows. But Mr. Jaishankar was made to sit in the first row. He was sitting next to the presidents and prime ministers, those who attended Trump's swearing-in ceremony. Perhaps that talks about the protocol upgradation, that a foreign minister representing India has been upgraded to the first row by the Trump-Vance inaugural committee. Now that talks about the growing India-US ties in days to come. Because there was a lot of trolling, Griha, in late December and early January, that India couldn't even manage an invitation for Prime Minister Modi for Trump's swearing-in ceremony. Perhaps it's a reply, it's a response to all of them who were trolling Mr. Jaishankar in the Foreign Ministry of India, that you know, India did receive an invite, and India's foreign minister was sitting on the first row, not on the second or the third row. So it talks about India's growing clout in Capitol Hill, and also talks about deepening India-US ties. You know, and India-US relationship has a bipartisan support in US. So it also talks about the growing India-US ties. So the perception which a lobby or a cabal was trying to create, you know, that everything is not going well between India and Trump administration. Look, India has not received an invitation. Other world leaders have received an invitation. Look, India is not being mentioned by Trump in his remarks, in his statements of late. So those were the observations which section of people had made in last 1 month or so. But now it's a response to them that, you know, Mr. Jaishankar was made to sit on the first row, you know, which is very unlikely for the foreign minister. So his protocol was upgraded by the Trump and Vance committee. Point number one. Point number two, he had a very good you know, interaction with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Trump's FBI director pick Kash Patel, and perhaps we are expected that the first Quad meeting is going to take place today, Griha, and that would be the first foreign engagement of Trump's administration.
Absolutely. Siddhant, do stay on with us. We also have Mr. Sushant Sareen joining us live on the broadcast. Sushant, very good morning to you. I'd like to understand the one key aspect that's come out of US President Donald Trump's speech is that he's going to tariff and tax foreign countries. Is that trouble for India?
Not necessarily. I think some of it is expected already. He has been talking about a much more fairer, at least fairer from an US perspective, international trade regime. He is of the view that the Americans charge very low tariffs while other countries tariff American products very high, and that's not fair. So he has that mercantilist approach, and that mercantilist approach also extends to the fact that he doesn't believe that in international trading relationships you will run deficits with some countries and surpluses with other countries. So he wants trade to be balanced all along, and that cannot happen. That's economically impossibility. So I think as he goes along, some of it is negotiating strategies, some of it is just rattling the cage. He's just provoking some of the people, trying to intimidate them through this talk. But yes, I think tariffs will become an issue. There will be pressures on India as well on some of the tariff lines that we have imposed. Some of the protectionism that we have given our industry, our agriculture, other sectors. So I think we need to be prepared for that. I'm sure people in the government would have done their homework on what to expect going forward. Now, there is this other thing that he's saying he's going to impose 100% tariffs on BRICS nations. Now, I again think that's a bit of a hyperbole. The reason being that he said that in the context that, there was this nonsensical talk some time back that the BRICS will replace the dollar and come up with an own currency. How is that even possible? People who don't know the first thing about economics will talk about a BRICS currency or BRICS nation coming up with a currency. And how does that suit India's interest? A BRICS currency will be dominated by China. Do we want something like that to happen? I would rather prefer the supremacy of the dollar than the yuan getting supremacy, right? So quite clearly, that's not going to happen. And in fact, India very clearly disabused everybody of the notion that there is going to be any kind of a BRICS currency. Now, if he is going to impose a 100% tariff on BRIC nations, they're not trading with Russia anyway, so that's out of the window. If they're going to impose 100% tariffs on China, then that will have its own impact globally. 100% tariffs on India, then how do you balance that with your relationship in Quad? And then, of course, there is Brazil and South Africa, with which the US enjoys good relationships, although not necessarily with Brazil going forward because of the kind of regime there is in Brazil. But I think some of it we need to just learn to take it in our stride, not have a knee-jerk reaction or tilt at the windmills every time Donald Trump opens his mouth. It's his actions that should bother us more than what he says. And I think half the problem in the world is that people look at what he says and then they start reacting to it. Let's wait and see what he does, and then we can respond in a much more sensible manner, rather than just
absolutely
tilting at the windmills.
Right, Sushant Sareen, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. Let me take this back to my colleague Siddhant, who continues to be with us here. Siddhant, another aspect that came out of President Trump's speech is the fact that he is going on to say that US will henceforth be recognizing just two genders, that's the male and the female, no third gender. Do you think there will be sharp criticism that will be flying in, or it's already started, against this aspect of his speech?
Well, absolutely, Griha. This will definitely attract sharp criticism when it comes to, US will only recognize two genders, male and the female. Because even in the run-up to the elections also, Trump had spoken on the similar lines. And now, since he has assumed office as the president of US, he has signed an executive order. It would really be interesting to see that how Democrats will react to it. We are still awaiting for a reaction from Democrats on this particular executive order that has been signed by Trump, and what will happen to the set orders, the set laws in US for the transgenders and for the other categories. That would really be interesting to see that how this new administration is going to implement this executive orders on ground.
Absolutely, and you were just talking